Hello, good evening, everybody. So happy to see you here. Um, Welcome to Bears in the Kitchen. This is a virtual cook along. My name is Elizabeth Ong, and I'm a registered dietitian. I work at UHS. Our nutrition team focuses on reaching out to students to share nutrition knowledge. We help them to develop cooking skills and provide affordable, simple, nutritious, tasty recipe ideas. So that they can, cook more confidently on their own. And that's my hope for you today as we go through our cook along recipe, at least for tonight. So we're going to be making Chinese style pork and cabbage dumplings. So you have some protein, some veggie, and some starch, right? Because of the flour that's from the wrapper. And when we talk about dumplings in general, if we were to define dumpling, it's really just some type of filling wrapped in some sort of dough. Sometimes dumplings don't even have fillings, they're just dough dumplings, depending on the culture or the cuisine we're talking about. Some, I would say, more common types of dumplings in East Asian culture, like Chinese cuisine. You have the wonton dumplings, which tend to be more steamed, boiled, and you use the square wrappers. And then you also have circular wrappers, which are more commonly used to make the pot sticker, which tends to be more like pan-fried, dry heat cooked. Sometimes the pot sticker dumplings tend to be thicker as well, and wontons tend to be thinner. But that's to say, like, could you swap the wrappers, or could you take the square wrapper and pan fry that? Like, yeah, you can do that. So this is just, again, just what's common, I would say, if you were to wrap wontons or do pot stickers. The differentiation. Sometimes people get confused about that. And I thought this would be a timely recipe too, because February 12th is Chinese New Year, or following the lunar calendar. So happy Year of the Ox to those of you who celebrate. But one of the reasons why dumplings or wontons, circular dumplings are commonly included or made during the Chinese New Year is that they're a sign of wealth. And if you kind of tilt your head a little bit to the one looking at the wonton photo, like turn it 90 degrees, and then you take a look at the bottom there, those are like gold ingots, old Chinese currency, what they used to use back in the day. It kind of resembles that shape, right? You have the little bump in the middle and then the outside. So that's a sign of wealth. Instead of we're eating, we're making a lot of money and eating it, that's a good sign for a good way to start off the new year. And oftentimes this making dumplings is a family, a shared cooking activity with the family, because it can take some time to wrap, but also you're socializing. I think it's a great activity to include with friends as well. And since many folks, I assume, may not be able to go back home, right, to celebrate with their family for Chinese New Year, I thought maybe we could at least try to celebrate amongst ourselves virtually. So we're about to get started here. Just want to remind you all to wash your hands if you are going to be cooking along. So that's 20 seconds, thoroughly warm water, get in between your fingernails. Great. So again, taking a look at here we go. Taking a look at your recipe, right? Well, the first step was to make the filling. So if we read through, we want to be working with the Napa cabbage first. We're going to be working with the Napa cabbage. Napa cabbage is this huge thing. Actually, this is a small Napa cabbage, but typically larger. I've already picked out some of the leaves and washed them, which are right here, for about two cups-ish. It's going to be like 5 or 6 leaves. It really depends on how big your cabbage is. So the first step is, because we're going to cut that and then salt it. And one of the benefits, or the reason why we're actually salting it and leaving it for 10 to 15 minutes is that we want the water to draw out. We don't want a soggy filling because you can imagine when we're wrapping the wontons or you're trying to cook it, bursting or just getting really soggy. So this step helps prevent, one, it helps season it because you're adding some salt, but two, it helps draw out the water so you don't have a soggy filling. And so while we then rest the cabbage, that'll be like 10 or 15 minutes, then we're going to cut the other aromatics and flavor enhancers like the onions, garlic, and ginger, and then get the condiments too. And then lastly, we're going to deal with the pork and then just put it all in and mix it all up, and then we'll be ready to start folding the wontons. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting my Napa cabbage. Again, you want to make sure you wash them. And this is a fine, finely chopped. Also too, in terms of just knife safety, right? If you're familiar with the bear claw, right? When we're chopping anything or working with a knife, we want to tuck in our fingers so we're not leaving out our fingertips to get cut by the knife. So we have our little bear claw, that's the hand motion. And we also want to make sure, because this guy, if we leave this out, can get cut, we want to tuck the thumb in as well. And then go as fast or as slow as you feel comfortable, especially if you're newer to cooking. Finely chop is pretty, I don't know, it looks kind of like that thin is what I'm doing. And it'll wilt and get even thinner with the salt. So that is what I'm doing. If you don't have cabbage or Napa cabbage, because I know, for example, Safeway didn't have it when I was looking for it, you could use a regular cabbage. The difference, I think Napa is kind of sweet. I think the red and green cabbages that you typically see at American grocery stores, those can be sweet as well. Napa is a little softer though, so easier to work with. And since we're making the filling, that's why it's a nice choice to use. But you could use a regular cabbage too, and your texture just might be a little crunchier, which some people like. Okay, so that was like about a few leaves. One of the nice things too about, I'd say, making dumplings in general, any dumplings, is that you can really put whatever filling you want. And I'd say it's pretty forgiving. So, the amounts that you see on the ingredients list, they're not, set in stone. If you want to add a little more veggie, if you want like a higher veggie to meat ratio, you can do that. That's totally fine. The amounts that are on there are about the amounts for one package of the dumpling wrappers. But you can always modify like the ratio of things you put in there. If you're a vegetarian or don't eat meat, you can always just substitute other vegetables. Mushrooms are really good. Well, for me, I like mushrooms, and I think they taste good in dumplings. So you can put other things as well, other fillings. So this should be about 2 cups, which is what we're going for. If you have measuring, you can use a measuring cup if you want. The cup is about like your hand, your fist-ish. But if you want to be a little precise, or if you're a little afraid, not as confident to stray from the recipe, which is totally fine, you can use a measuring cup as well. Now, so again, this is where you're going to be wilting your cabbage. Right? I'm going to put it all in. I think it's about 2 cups, maybe a little bit more, but fine. Okay, so you have your cabbage in here. We want to add about a teaspoon of salt. Again, go ahead and measure it out if you'd like, or you can eyeball it if you feel comfortable. Put that on and just mix it up. Try to mix it thoroughly. And you can put some force into it. It's okay, because we are going to be squeezing it out. Actually, as you mix it, as I see it, I can already see the water coming out. That's what we want. So that's pretty good. Mix with salt. Leave it to rest for at least 10 minutes. All right, while the cabbage is resting, let's mince, cut up the ginger and the garlic, and then slice the green onions. So I'm going to start with my green onions. The amount of green onions you want, it's about, again, a quarter of a cup. It's about like 2 or 3 stalks. If you like green onions, I know they come in a bunch, so they'll probably come in like 5. You could put all of them in. Again, this isn't a, I think you'd say it's a pretty forgiving recipe, meaning that you can make some modifications to your own liking. I've already washed this too, so be sure to remember to wash it. I'm going to do all 3 here. I also have a little compost bin next to me. That's where scraps are going. So we are just thinly slicing. So thinly slicing, again with my bear claw, just gonna create some little rings there. I think what's great about, if we take a look at this recipe, the main bulk of it is some sort of meat or pork, right? So you get some flavor there, and then you have cabbage that bulks it up. Then it's really so you get a lot of flavor from the pork itself, but also these aromatics like the green onion, the garlic, the ginger, which are really yummy. And so you're adding other flavors and not having to only rely on like salt, right, to flavor your food. And it makes things taste more interesting too, in my opinion. So like I said, these guys, about 3 stalks I had. Okay, yeah, that's already a quarter. A quarter. Oops. I meant to put that in a different bowl. That's okay. We can squeeze it out later. I'm just going to use all my green onions because I like green onions. So you can keep it to a quarter cup if you want. So sorry, I meant to throw those in a different bowl. But it's okay if that they're there. I'm not going to worry about that. So we have green onion, and now let's go to garlic. Fun garlic. So we want about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Minced meaning like cut into really small pieces. For garlic, the cheat way, because garlic can be a pain to peel. So what I do, maybe not the safest. I've had people use the flat edge of their knife and squish it that way. I pound it because that's how my mom does it, so that's where I learned. But it may not be as safe. So to evenly apply pressure and squish it with the large part of your blade, that can be a way to do it. Just be careful, obviously, about the sharp edge of your knife. And so once you squish it like that, it is so easy to peel. It's not a battle between you and the garlic. That simple. So that's how I get my garlic out. These are pretty chunky cloves. So again, I just apply pressure. It should crack. If you have a smaller peel, honestly, I just go like that. I smash. Just be careful not to hurt yourself. But it makes peeling the garlic so much easier. I'm gonna do I'm doing about, I really like garlic too, so that's probably like 2 large cloves, maybe about 2-ish tablespoons, but I'm just gonna add more garlic. Okay, so with the cloves, I want to make sure I cut off the dry part on top. It wouldn't hurt you to keep it, but it's kind of tough, so I cut that off. Dispose of that. And with mincing, again, I have a bear claw. I start trying to slice it thinly one way. Again, go as slow as you need to, as you feel comfortable. And then once I slice it horizontally, thinly one way, I kind of turn it and do the same thing on the other, as much as you can. And then you start getting, you know, these type of smaller slices. And once you're there, you can just go like that, kind of like rocking forward and back to mince it so that it's really small. When you're mincing anything, especially here with garlic, you're increasing your surface area too. When you're crushing it, the flavor, you could probably smell your garlic. Every time for the garlic, I kind of gather it up to make a little pile, and then it makes it easier to continue mincing or cutting into small pieces. You can use your other hand too to put on your knife to help guide it so that you have a little bit more control too, if you want. Okay, so again, if I were to measure it, actually it might be, right, 3 cloves. This is the second bowl that I'm adding. I had the green onions in, and now I'm adding the garlic, minced garlic too. And next we've got the ginger. Okay, so the ginger, see, we need to peel the ginger. Mine's already been washed. If you have a peeler, fantastic. If you don't, that's fine. Just get a spoon. And you can literally just use a spoon to scrape off the skin, and that works as well. Peeling ginger is something that I usually do in front of a kitchen sink because I just go, I don't worry about it. So I'm just gonna peel here into my little compost bin on the side. So put the garlic here, and sometimes the pieces are really small, and you can just use your knife to cut off the skin too. You can start with the peeler, finish off with the knife. Some of these. I feel like my sinuses are clearing up just smelling ginger, fresh ginger. Okay, so we have, we want to mince this as well. So I'm going to cut the ginger into thin slices first. I'm going to start that way. So we start cutting it again, just small slices like that, thin slices with my bear claw. And then just turn it the other way and cut. We just want really small pieces again, similar to the garlic that we just cut. And then eventually, I just chop all of it. Push it together, make a little mound, and go over it again until you get small pieces. So that's about the size you can see here, similar to garlic size. That's the ginger. We want about 2 tablespoons of this stuff too. I think this is about maybe just 1-ish. Yep. So I'm throwing that into the second large, with the garlic and the green onion. I'm gonna need another piece of ginger. So it's about another tablespoonish. I'm gonna put that in. So we have that, right? This is the second mixing bowl. This is the first one with the cabbage. And here we're gonna add some condiments. Number 3, it says add the other seasoning condiments into that second bowl. So we want to get soy sauce, sesame oil, salt, pepper. And then if you're using Shaoxing wine, that's super optional. If you don't have it, don't worry. It didn't come with the food pantry. We weren't able to get it, but it is a very common staple Chinese cuisine cooking ingredient. So I just had it in there. If you happen to be familiar with it, go ahead and use it. So I am adding 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. Maybe I will bring it here. 2.5. Then I'm going to be adding 2 teaspoons, a little smaller, of the sesame oil.
Elizabeth, there's a question. Someone's
Sure.
wondering, is it okay if they can grate the ginger instead?
Oh yeah, that's easier.
Okay.
If you have a grater, go ahead and use that.
All right, perfect.
So that's 2 teaspoons of the sesame oil, 1 teaspoon of salt for the cabbage, half a teaspoon of salt for the pork filling. So we're going to end up adding this pork to this. So that is half a teaspoon of salt. Half in there, and half a teaspoon of white pepper. Now I think Americans tend to eat black pepper. Commonly used in, I think, Chinese cooking is white pepper. It's just another type of peppercorn variety. It's a slightly lighter flavor. It's not as strong as black pepper. But honestly, you can use black pepper if you don't have white pepper. I know it's not too commonly used in American cooking. So if you don't have it, just use your common black pepper. I'm going to use it just because I happen to have it. That's about half a teaspoon there. And that's it in terms of the seasoning piece. So we're going to just set this aside a little, set that aside. And now we get back to the cabbage.
Elizabeth, when would we put in the wine? Is it in this step or a following step?
Yeah, it is this step. Thank you
Okay.
for reminding me. So it's 1 tablespoon of the Shaoxing wine. I had it right here. So yeah, 1 tablespoon. Good, y'all are cooking a lot and listening. Great, thank you for that reminder. Okay, so now squeeze out and drain as much water as possible. Go ahead and you can go to your sink if you want, whatnot. There's already a pool of water, right, from my cabbage mixture. I'm just gonna, just squeeze as much as I can out. Oops. Some of my onions got in there, but that's okay. Actually, quite a lot of amount comes out. Okay, so I have done that. So imagine if you didn't do this step or didn't have time to let it soak and squeeze out. this is how much water that would be in your filling. It'd be pretty wet, right? Okay, so now we just let it sit. Extra water you can dump. We're on to number 4, step 4 now. So dealing with the pork. Show you. Right. At the store, it'd probably be finer, smaller pieces than this, but this is fine for filling. Again, it's a preference too. So you maybe just want to run your hands through to see if there's any large chunks that you missed. Okay. So once you're happy with your pork, they just put it in with the second large, with the other aromatics and the onion and the garlic and the ginger. Put that all there. I already cut a little bit. And then you want to put in your cabbage, the ones that you squeeze the water out, give a last squeeze there. And now we're ready to mix. I may have to catch up to some of you if you had pre-ground pork. Hi, Francis. Going to class, evening class. So we're mixing it up here and trying to thoroughly mix up. I'm already getting like smells of the sesame oil and the soy sauce, which is nice. Mix it all together. And now you have filling that's ready to be wrapped. Very much. Okay, so I'm gonna push that forward. Now, if you want, you can use, get a tablespoon out or just like a spoon to help you not overly stuff your wontons. I'm gonna wash my hand because I have the pork. So here we have the wonton wrappers. Okay, they're square. Again, if you have circle, that's totally fine. Look with whatever you have. I'm just gonna take a stack there. And I'm gonna show two ways to wrap. Now, ooh, Kenny, yes, save your pictures. I have a slide with the hashtag of how to share on IG. So just stay with me for a little, and I can share that. So the easiest, sure way to wrap is just really like folding it over. So that would be this, and this counts. So this would be like your wonton. Very simple. Next would be making that gold ingot, like the old money currency way. And so that's very common. And you know, they don't have to, when you cook them, they get all shriveled anyway. So it's like, don't beat yourself up over making it look a certain way, because they get all boiled and eaten anyway. So again, this is like the type of, I'll show you how to do that. I don't know if anyone has this is a way of pleating that we typically would do for, if you had the circle round one. So it looks kind of funny doing it with the square, but that's also an option. I'll focus on these two. So what you want to do is make sure you have a little bit of water on hand in a little bowl. That's how we seal the wrapper. Get 1 piece of wonton wrapper. I think in the recipe said about 1 tablespoon. So I think it's really, really easy to overstuff them. And when you overstuff them, the skin can break, or they may burst open when you try to cook them when you're boiling them. So try to keep it to 1 tablespoon-ish. With that, you want to then, it may be easier to do it on a flat surface. I'm just going to show you up close. With the other finger, just line the wonton edges with water. And that's it. You fold it, you push it together. And as I'm pressing, I'm trying to press out any air or air bubbles. Okay. So actually, one whole, maybe I had a heaping tablespoon, maybe a little less than a tablespoon. Actually, it's perfect. It's like maybe perfectly filled. So that could be one wonton right there, right? Now, if you want to go the next step and make your money, right, for Chinese New Year, let's see. Let me do one more. So that's one. You do the same step. So I'm just gonna do this time a little bit, maybe like 2/3 of a tablespoon, a little bit less. There. Do the same thing. I'm lining the edges with water so that they stick. You fold it in half like that. At the tip, I'm just trying to press out any air. And so with that, you take the edges here and then press it together. Like that. Sorry. Press it together like that. You might need a little bit more water to press these two together. But all you do is flip open the flap and then that's it. It's like the money. See it? Do you not see it? Yeah.